What's up, everybody? It's your favorite nurse at the Cuckoo's Nest, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at New Age attempt at a ratchet. This is on loan to me from Joe S. He sent me some Legends class figures for a sit-down Saturday, and then he was like, look, I was going through your catalog. I noticed you hadn't looked at one of the kind of van bots yet. Would you like to? And I said, yeah, definitely. So he sent it my way. Very much appreciated. We're going to talk about them, but first, we're going to talk about accessories. So he comes with his firearm. It is sculpted actually nice enough and surprisingly so for the size it is, and it is painted in silver as well. He'll hold that just fine, and it'll store in the van by sliding it straight down into that peg down there. He comes with one hand swap out accessory, once again cast in white, sculpted nicely, and then painted with gunmetal silver on the bottom bits. He then comes with the second swap out hand weapon accessory, and this once again is completely coated in this gunmetal silver, and I'm not sure if you can see that. My camera's having a hard time focusing on this little stuff. Both of these, I believe, can be stored in there, but I don't think both can be stored in there at the same time. There's like a little, and then this one is probably the only one that'll store alongside the gun, so you kind of got to pick one or the other. It's right in this part of the crotch. Either one of those accessories can be swapped out by just pulling the hand out and plugging that in. Comes with one swap out head, kind of the Marvel Comics look, and lots of paint on this. We have blue metallic paint on the eyes. The face piece is a separate piece, and so is the crest, which is painted silver. Then he has two sets of hand swap out options. Joe hasn't taken these off the sprue, so I'm not going to either, but they have two pointing hands left and right and two posing hands left and right. Which brings us to vehicle mode, and it's quite stunning actually, and it rolls like a champ. We have silver paint on the hubcaps, red paint, blue metallic paint for the windows, and then we have some deco up here for the light bar, and then we have the kind of nurse sign there. We have even the back windshield wiper is painted. The brake lights and blinker lights are painted, and then we have the headlights and the bumper that are painted, and then the blinker lights up top that are painted. So like, they spare no expense. Rolls well and looks puny next to Tiger Tracks. So let's get them transformed. You want to break these connections here in the back. You also want to break them in the front, which the instructions don't cover very well. And then you can kind of get the leg out of the way. So we'll go ahead and do that again on both sides, and we'll get the leg out of the way. Then you want to kind of flatten this part out, and then you just flatten this part out. That'll tab in. On this side, you fold this over, and then the foot comes up, this spins up, and the heel spins back, and I got news for you. It's pretty brilliant. So let's do that again, all right? So we got this leg out. The section here with the wheel, we're going to straighten on a double hinge. We're going to bring the window section around and peg it into the section on the wheel. The windows we're going to fold over so that they collapse, and then we're going to bring the toe up and the heel in, which is already done. And then we're just going to orient the legs. We're then going to disconnect the arms and kind of just get them out of the way. These pieces come with it that form the front. Then you're supposed to rotate this light bar so that it sits up. Fold in this part of the bumper. I had a hand fall off. We'll go ahead and put that back on. And then bring up the backpack so that it sits flush and you have this one part of the light bar sticking out. We're then folding in the wheels. Manipulate the legs to do so. Rotate the cab up, and then lastly, bring the head up so that it sits in there. This piece will come down. These parts fold inwards, which is nuts. And then that all sits kind of properly underneath, and it might take some cleaning up on my end. And then we're just going to sort the arms. So fold the forearms in. This part is extremely intuitive. And let's see, yep, like this. And then circle the hands around. And then same for the other side. And that is this guy basically transformed. I'll get him cleaned up and we'll take a look at him. A couple things. For one, I may have messed up in the transformation, and I guess I did. I'm not yeah, it looks like I did. But you can kind of have it either way. I think I did it because I wanted this blue on the outside. You can do it either way though. But let me show you. This is the proper way, right? Which is just not turning the waist and then orienting it that way. But if you want the windows on the outside, you can just turn the waist and then turn the thigh. And now you have it oriented this way, and then that's what it looks like from the side, which I think personally looks better, but that's personal preference what that is. But we'll turn it back, and we'll turn it back this way. All right. So one thing I think we got to talk about first and foremost is the proportions. New Age really does nail the proportions. Like, this looks like, I don't know, it looks heroic, and it's very tiny, but they kill it. They kill it in regard to that, which is nice. Let's talk about this, the head. It's on a ball peg. Because of the cut in the back of the head, you can get all the way up and a little bit down. Silver paint on the crest, blue metallic paint on the eyes, and you get a swivel and a little bit of attitude. Shoulders, ball peg. You can get those up to 90 degrees. You can spin them all the way around, and you have the red cross painted on there. The elbows, single pinned hinge at 90 degrees, and then a wrist swivel where the hands plug in, some of the card deco coming through underneath. You have an waist swivel. You do not have an ab crunch that I can tell. I'll get there in a minute. We have T-jointed ball joints for hips. That gets you all the way out for the full Van Damme, front and back for the full Monty, thigh swivel, knee, single pinned hinge, 90 degrees, card deco comes through nicely on both sides. Ankle tilt, no, neither up nor down, but you do get a rocker, and then you do get an additional toe rocker if you need one. And then also, if you're having trouble balancing the figure, because he is a little back heavy, due to all this stuff that's up here and not a lot of stuff that's down here, and it's a very light plastic. On the heel, if you just manipulate that a bit, you can turn it to the outside, and sometimes that can help you get a little bit of extra stability. Now, one thing I want to show you is one of my issues with this guy, we'll talk about it more obviously in final thoughts, is it doesn't peg, not a lot pegs in extremely well. So like as you're manipulating and such, like a lot of the transformation tends to kind of come undone. Well, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and you can go back through and sort it, but it is something that's a little bit on the obnoxious side. So that's something I want to point out. Let's do some size comparisons. For the sake of tradition, there he is pretty much with a Hasbro Legend and an early Iron Factory, a modern Iron Factory, and some fellow New Age characters set against the DX9 scale chart. So he's pretty much going to be perfect for DX9 or New Age, which tends to follow the same scale chart. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. And the biggest negative with this guy is that stuff is fiddly. It comes unstuck, it comes undone, it comes untabbed, it comes apart, it comes out of alignment. It pretty much like Duran Duran in the 90s, just pretty much comes undone. But honestly, I don't have a whole lot more bad to say about it. I guess I could go ahead and mention once again that it does find itself being a little back heavy, causing just once again pretty much another stability issue in the mold, except this time it's not pieces kind of coming together. This time it's a matter of getting him to stand in a dynamic pose. I had to use my little heel spur trick a couple times to pull off some of these poses, but I'm also using it in the kind of like the backwards look that I just prefer. So I don't know, there's some give and take there, but I have noticed that he tends to be a little back heavy. Let's talk about the positives though, because there's plenty. For one, I love the proportions. I can't say it enough. It's just, they're so good. It looks like what the masterpiece proportions should have been. They don't hold back with paint deco. They don't douse it in it, but they give you just enough accents pretty much everywhere to make it a visually interesting piece from just about any angle that you catch it from. The articulation is there. It's basic for kind of the standard of today's articulation regarding Legends, which is crazy, but it is there. There's just no kind of extra bells and whistles. It's pretty much your kind of old school standard. No real butterfly joint, nor ab crunch, at least not that I could tell. And I honestly, I don't think that's a deal breaker. You know, if it is, it just became one, because it used to not be. We had no ab crunch and stuff for quite a long time. But what I think is kind of most impressive about this thing is the engineering. It's so clever and smart and intuitive and fun and challenging and yet fulfilling and not frustrating and smooth. I can't say enough good about it. It's just fantastic in that regard. The materials are decent. It's a lighter plastic, so you don't get the kind of stuff in the legs to really lock it down sometimes the way you wish it would. But overall, a good piece that I can recommend if you are doing the Voyager scale characters in the DX9 or New Age brands. Perhaps more on that later, or perhaps we've already talked about it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.